Hi everyone, and we are live after a very long time with our new Diwali segment. We've got a lot of experts coming on board and they are going to be talking to you about Diwali. And our first expert is going to be Leena Ukil, and she is from the family dog. So I'm just going to get Leena to join here. Hi,
Hi.
Leena. Good to see you. We were chatting with everyone before you came on. Well, I was asking everybody about what their dog feels at Diwali time. Are they scared of firecrackers? And I think somebody's already written it's their pup's first Diwali. But before we start with you, tell us more about you. So, tell us a bit about you, your knowledge, and tell us why you are so modest with all of that that you do.
I have been a dog trainer now. I think this is my 12th year, and I know you since then. And I enjoy working with dogs that have behavior issues. Most of the time, I don't get puppies to train, so I'm always with the slightly difficult dogs. I just enjoy it because I like to be the one who kind of clears the miscommunication between the owners and the dogs. And I don't think I'm modest. I think I'm just like bad at tech in general. So that's why I do not put up too much on social.
Okay.
But yeah, getting better at it.
Okay, that's good to hear. All right, so we have some people commenting because I've asked people about dogs in Diwali time. So a lot of y'all are telling us about how your dogs feel at Diwali time. So, but Leena, let's just start. First, just let me know, how do we tell if it's your dog's first Diwali? How do you tell if it's a dog's first exposure? What if you don't know? What if I have a rescue dog and I don't know if it's going to be his or her first Diwali? How would I tell? And if I have a puppy, what should I do if it's my dog's first Diwali?
Okay, so I think it's very important to understand that not all dogs react to sound and light of firecrackers in the same way. Sometimes dogs from the same breed can be from the same litter, they don't react the same way. And we'll go into the reasons why they don't behave the same way. But if it's your dog's first Diwali, especially if it's a puppy, or it's a rescue dog, I think there are certain things that we can keep a lookout for. So if we deal with, let's say, puppies, and we are talking about puppies that have no behavior issue or don't have trauma per se, the first thing to notice is how sensitive are they to sound that are regularly in your environment. So it could be the pressure cooker whistle, it could be the doorbell, it could be something that accidentally falls from your hand. It's completely normal for these puppies to react to sound. They might get startled, but it's also equally important for us to notice how quickly do they recover. Puppies are expected to be curious, so they might go towards the sound or run away from the sound. But if you then put back the thing that has fallen, do the puppies recover fast enough? That'll be the first thing that we will notice. Second thing we try to also notice is their body language. Dogs that are stressed or they get anxious because of the sound, you will see that their muscle tone will be tighter. You will see certain quiver in the body. You will see their ears pinned down. You will see a full body change that kind of tells you that they are anxious about it. Again, very normal if it's the first time they're reacting to the sound, but it's very important to see that when you then normalize the situation and then distract the puppy, whether it recovers and then forgets about the incident. The other thing that we notice is that uh, puppies sometimes also are very reactive to light. So those that react later on react to firecrackers. They also might be light sensitive, so they might be okay with the sound. But in the night, let's say when you're seeing television and let's say there is a program, I've noticed this with my own dog, like when there is a gun shooting, you know how the lights, strobe lights happen, the dogs react quite poorly to that. They might suddenly get startled and run away and go under the bed. So even that is something to look out for. Um, for rescue dogs, I feel that sometimes there is a lot of unknown trauma. They might also have other stress in their life that they have come with. So especially if it's an older rescue dog, I think before the rescue or after the rescue, one should actually do a few tests to just know for sure what the dog might be sensitive to. Then you can get ready to prepare them for the Diwali to come.
Okay. So now when you say, watch for all of these things, what should you do? Supposing we do see that the dog is reacting to sounds. What if my dog is reacting to pressure cooker sounds, like you said? Should I do something about it now before the firecracker season really starts for us? What should I do to prep my dog in time for another 2 weeks or so from now?
So, of course, when it reacts to certain sounds, we also like to do something called like on a scale of 1 to 10, where does the dog stand? Is it at a 5? Is it at a 7? Is it at a 10?
Correct.
Dogs that are about roughly about 5, let's say, those that means that they react to the sound but also can be distracted and recover and bounce back. I tell them, tell owners to start at a noise that the dog is able to it's below its threshold, it's able to tolerate, but
Yeah.
observe it, like kind of identify it, but is able to tolerate it. And I would start with regular household sounds itself. I will not bring a firecracker sound directly. You get the dog used to that kind of ambient noise such that the dog identifies it and thinks, it's not that bad. People can carry on with the usual day-to-day chores and maybe do something that the dog enjoys so that the dog can ignore that background noise. And as and when the dog gets comfortable with the, let's say, a sound level at 5, then you can increase it to a 6, to a 7. But if you have a dog that is highly anxious, that even with a pressure cooker whistle is having a completely nervous breakdown, then I do not think you can start off at a directly. You have to start off with a noise that the dog doesn't identify as threatening. So maybe a pressure cooker whistle might be too much. So you might start with a very simple, let's say the TV noise or a music or something, just getting it used to that kind of noise as a background, and then little bit of experimentation to find out what does the dog get comfortable with quicker and what it might not get comfortable with quicker, and then go accordingly. Um, yeah.
Okay. So then you're saying there is something we can do now to prepare our dogs about 2 weeks from now, as such.
Yeah, depending on the dog's tolerance level and threshold level, I
Yeah.
think the speed at which you start exposing the dog to is important. If you find that the dog is not able to cope up with even like mild amount of noises, then it's very important for us to find out what is it that I can give to the dog as an alternate safe space or a safe where the dog feels okay. I don't necessarily have to deal with the noise. I can do this instead. So that guidance has to come from the owners. Many dogs, in general, even if the dog is comfortable with noises, I like to identify a safe space for a puppy or a rescue dog or an adult dog that has suddenly developed firecracker fear due to some trauma. I like to identify a safe space regardless, because then the dog has an option and doesn't feel that it has to deal with the noise all the time.
So safe spaces could be like under the bed, maybe behind a cupboard, some
Yeah.
closed corner that they.
Yeah, something that has a bit of an acoustic value to it, in which it's maybe there's a dampening of the acoustics.
Yeah.
If you don't have a space that is under the bed, let's say some people's bed are very low, you can create a space. I sometimes just make a little den with a suitcase on one side, a box on the other side, and then you
Yeah.
can do it. Dogs that are reactive to light, then they also do well if you cover their head with a blanket. The blanket will also kind of dampen the noise. And I like to do it without the firecracker, without the trigger. As per, so that it
Yeah.
becomes a regular part of their thing. So my dog goes to bed. I say, okay, come on, it's sleeping time. Let's put a blanket on you, and we practice it beforehand so that it gets comfortable with that itself. And then when the firecracker happens, then it's just a normal thing that the dog is doing.
That's nice. That's helpful. Okay. So how can we now anticipate the dog's reaction at Diwali time?
So, I don't know about other people, but at least in Bombay and in certain spaces like mine, Diwali is, even though Diwali is the time for firecrackers, I nowadays find firecrackers are running throughout the year, or at least in certain cricket happens or Ganpati happens. So I feel pretty much everyone has a fair idea. If you don't have an idea, you, as I said, you can test with certain loud noises. But the if the dog is of the predisposition where it's slightly anxious, body is usually tense, it jumps when a noise happens. It's very clear to identify dogs that have zero reaction. They walk around as if what nothing happened. They
Yeah.
just walk around and they're very comfortable. They look confident. They're very calm. Whereas anxious dog in general will have anxiety. Their body tone is very tight, and they're of the jumping kind. So you can kind of identify that they are going to be reacting to it. And what you're anticipating is either them running away from the source of sound, trying to hide. Some of them do bark at the sound, backing away, they bark at the sound. Some of them overall will seem a little cranky, and not want to, let's say, go out for their walk at a
Yeah.
certain time of the day. Usually that kind of coincides with the loud sounding time. So there are dogs who identify that, okay, evening has come, I can hear something is going to start off. They also see the light. And also remember, firecracker also has the element of smell to it. So even if we cannot hear something, or it is, let's say, 5 blocks down the road, dogs will anticipate. You can see their ears
Yeah.
turning and them looking visibly worried. And one of the giveaway is that they don't want to go for their walks. I find that is kind of consistent with many dogs. Uh, so do anticipate that they may not go for their walk. They may not eat their food at that in and around that time. They might want look um anxious and pace up and down.
Yeah.
May not settle down in a
Right.
place without you being there. So those are the problems that you will face.
Okay. Now, how can we help our dogs stay safe and calm? That's, I think, everybody's aim and goal, because every dog reacts differently. Every dog needs something different. So, what are the various things we can try to see, at least if one or two of them will work for our dogs?
Right. So first thing first, physically, if we can give it a space that it can
Yeah.
hide, right? So that requires, maybe it has to be away from the windows. It has to be away from the main doorway, such that the noise is lessened.
Yeah.
I like to identify that spot beforehand. And then let's say it's under the bed, but let's say from the bed, the dog can see the window. So maybe on that side, I'll put something that blocks that view.
Yeah.
Then I will also maybe change the routine and anticipation. Let's say around, we expect around 5, 6 o'clock the firecrackers usually
Yeah.
start, or sometimes in some areas it might be early in the morning. So if you kind of know from the previous years how it works, then you can fix a routine for the dog. So if, let's say, my dog normally walks at 7, eats at 6 o'clock, I might do an early dinner at 4 o'clock and walk my dog at 5 o'clock and end the day there. And do it 3, 4 days or even a week before Diwali starts, so that the routine is kind of set. This is obviously for dogs who are highly anxious, those that do not want to step out at all. Uh, some dogs I find are able to manage at 5 o'clock, but they'll not go at 7 o'clock when the main Diwali starts. Also, as I said, because they're sensitive to the smell, let's say in my apartment, the firecrackers happen in front of, let's say, Tower B, and usually we walk in front of Tower B. But then what I'll do is I'll change its route. I'll go to a different area where it's not directly facing the firecrackers, and give it enough mental stimulation in the earlier part of the day, so that when the firecracker is happening, I'm able to just tell him to rest and hide and rest and sleep. Some dogs do really well if somebody is next to them. Some dogs also do really well if a white noise is playing in the background. We tend to sit on the bed, cover my dog, and we watch television.
Yeah.
That is, not like
Hmm.
overtly loud or too stimulating. And I have two dogs that completely react differently. One would look as if it's deaf, has no
Yeah.
reaction to firecrackers, and the other one reacts really poorly because it has had a traumatic event connected to Diwali itself. So it's very important to, especially for rescue dogs to know, or dogs that have had an incident to know and accept that your dog is actually quite anxious, and not push it to face its fear, because then it can get worse off.
Okay, so useful tips. Thanks a ton for this session, Leena. Tell us, just as we're ending for today, what are the last few things you want us to keep in mind with Diwali coming up now? Uh, what should we do with our dogs, or just important takeaways from our session today that you could tell us? Just 3 points and say, remember these 3 things. If nothing else, remember these 3 at least. These are the 3 important takeaways.
First thing, please remember that dogs' hearing is at a completely different level than what we humans hear. Huh? Humans hear somewhere around 20,000 hertz. Dogs can hear anywhere as low as 40 to about 40,000 hertz. So, what seems like a very distant explosion to a dog can feel a bomb is falling on its head. So, understand that. Do not judge noise on your perspective, judge it from a dog's perspective. So if you have a dog that you think is sensitive to sound, multiply that with maybe a 10 or a 20 to understand how loud it is, and then work backwards to give it that much of soundproofing. So that is number one. Number two would be, a safe space has to feel comfortable for the dog to hide, but then some dogs may not want to be alone, so have that. So do not put your dog in a safe space and then go out for a Diwali party. If you have a really anxious dog, you need to give physical support as well. This fear of dogs, especially traumatic fear of dog, is very, very real. The brain doesn't work. And third point would be that depending on your breed, maybe a little bit one can research on the breed. There are certain breeds that are meant to be extremely sensitive to sound. Any of the herding breeds, any of the hunting breeds, they are meant to be sensitive to sound. So while throughout the year they might be very confident, very well trained dogs, but come Diwali, they might be extremely reactive because it's in their genetics. They have been trained to react to certain things much faster. Those dogs require what I call a recovery method. So, post the exposure, when the sound has happened, maybe at the end of the
Yeah,
night,
yeah,
do something that calms them down. That could be maybe a, a sniffing activity, that could be just cuddling. And lastly, be open to the idea of medication. If you have a really bad case of an
yeah.
anxious dog, please refer to the right vet who understands this, and they can prescribe you something to pre-calm your dog before
Right.
the Diwali crackers start, and then that will also help them recover post the crackers.
Great help, great advice. Okay, guys, I think we don't have any questions, or if we had, I missed them totally. Sorry. You all can ask us later if there are any questions. But thanks a ton for today, Leena. And so somebody's asked, will essential oils work?
Essential oils do work if you have preconditioned your dog to it. It will not work on the day of Diwali. So make sure the way it works is that you use essential oil and then you kind of combine it with something else that the dog enjoys. So it could be a massage, it could be just a game, it could be like an activity where you put the oil and you say, okay, let's sit down and calm down. So once that association happens, then you can use it during Diwali.
Perfect. So, guys, one of the takeaways I've got is if you're going to do anything like essential oils or anything different, then you need to probably condition your dog well before Diwali starts, which is why we started our Safe and Sound Diwali sessions. We're going to have a lot of Instagram lives with a lot of different experts. Leena was our first one. And I think, Leena, we're getting some great reviews for your session. Well done
Thank
to
you.
not social media savvy. We finally got you out there. So, listen, guys, Leena is not very bold on social media. She's very shy. So, if you do leave her a message telling how awesome she was, maybe she'll come back again. She has excellent information on doggy DNA and genetics. We definitely have a talk with her for that one of these days. And we've got questions now suddenly coming up. My dog gets extremely traumatized with crackers and noise, and we'll be trying some of your useful tips, says one of our participants. Well, thank you guys. I'm glad even this much is helping you. Like I said, we have lots of sessions coming up. And of course, if you have any questions for Leena, you can always get in touch with her on her Instagram handle. So thank
Definitely.
you all for attending, and thanks a ton, Leena.
Thank you for having me, Shirin.
And we'll see you soon in a future session.
Yes, sure.
Okay, guys. Bye. Thank you
Bye
all.
bye.
Bye.